Hello, and thank you for joining us for this important briefing on the Building Safety Act. Before we begin, we ask that you minimise any distractions, silence your phones, close your emails. This is an important message that requires your complete attention. The Building Safety Act was announced in April 2022. All construction activities that are controlled by the building regulations are covered by the Act. There are specific requirements relating to the construction and occupation of higher risk residential buildings, but this is only part of the new regime. So whether you're working on a one-storey extension, an office block or a high-rise tower, whether it's a refurbishment or new work, the Act applies to your work.
You might not know it, but the Act is already impacting upon the construction industry, your business and your staff. There is no way to contract out of it, insure against it, or avoid the new legal requirements that the Act brought into legislation. The Act was introduced to address systematic failures in the construction industry identified in the Hackett report, and to drive the culture change needed to support the delivery of safe buildings. The industry's approach to both design and build and refurbishment contracts needs improvement if we are to avoid the mistakes of the past. We need compliant design, compliant materials and compliant installations to deliver this change. This law is about how to create buildings that are safer for the users, not about finding ways to build more safely.
There are three key changes that the Act brought in for all buildings, and these are a new system of duty holders, a stronger legal requirement of satisfying the functional requirements of building regulations with the addition of personal liabilities for failing to do so. Construction companies must now demonstrate organisational competence, and their workers must be able to demonstrate their individual competence. Let's run through each of these changes in order.
Duty holders are those with responsibility for commissioning, design, construction or refurbishment of buildings. These roles have the same titles but different duties to those set out by the CDM regulations: client, principal designer and principal contractor. Sub-designers and subcontractors engaged on projects are also captured under the Act. Building regulations have been legally enforceable since the introduction of the Building Act in 1984. The built environment industry now has a clear mandate to ensure that their designs, materials and installations are fully compliant with building regulations and other relevant standards. With the introduction of the Building Safety Act in 2022, the Health and Safety Executive can now impose unlimited fines on individuals and organisations that don't comply with building regulations.
At this point, we must stress that all those providing advice in relation to specifications or selecting materials or subcontractors are viewed as designers under the Act and are therefore duty holders. This includes specification salespeople, specifiers, estimators and those carrying out procurement duties such as buyers and quantity surveyors. Designers should be confident that their design is compliant and articulate to building control how and why it is compliant. Gone are the days of issue it to building control and see what they say.
Moving on to demonstrating competence. Before a principal contractor or principal designer can be appointed to work on a construction project, the client must check the competence of those they are appointing to undertake the works. In turn, principal contractors and principal designers must also check the competence of the subcontractors, consultants and advisors they appoint.
Answering the Building Safety Act questions in the Common Assessment Standard, used by organisations such as Construction Line, helps you to demonstrate corporate competence, that your organisation has and maintains the correct policies, procedures and boardroom-led behaviours to comply with the Building Safety Act. The principal contractors that use Construction Line Gold or Platinum accreditation to pre-qualify their supply chains need you to have completed these questions to the required level to comply with their own duties under the Building Safety Act. You therefore need to ensure you complete this process by the end of September 2025 to remain a supplier to those principal contractors. Demonstrating individual competency is presently more challenging, as some sectors are more advanced than others in the preparation of suitable standards for you to apply. However, we will continue to stipulate that site staff must be appropriately trained and carry a suitable CSCS card for the works that they are to carry out. If you haven't already, you should be looking at the skills, knowledge, experience and behaviours your employees need to do their jobs. We can recommend that you reach out to your trade body for guidance.
Let us now turn to HRBs, or higher risk buildings. Put simply, an HRB is defined as a building that is over 18 metres tall or 7 storeys and includes at least 2 residences. You should be aware that this definition is subject to change, and it is likely that Scotland and Wales will have different definitions to England, as they adopt the Building Safety Act in due course. There are exceptions to this definition, which are hotels, prisons and military buildings. The main BSA requirements that are specific to high-risk buildings are: 1. A permissioning regime has been introduced by the Building Safety Regulator with 3 gateways or hold points. They will review planning applications, design approval and completion of construction for compliance with building regulations and other relevant standards, with particular emphasis on compliance with the structural and fire safety matters. 2. The Building Safety Regulator is the building control approver for all HRBs. 3. There is greater scrutiny of competence for working on HRBs. 4. There is a requirement for additional information relating to design and construction, beyond just operations and maintenance information. This information is known as the golden thread of information. And finally, 5. There are prescribed change control procedures, which include permissioning by the regulator in respect of defined major changes, with recording and notification of design and materials changes.
Gateway 1 is the planning stage, when a more detailed pack, including greater fire risk planning, is submitted to both the local planning department and to the regulator for approval. To progress through Gateway 2 to construction, more detailed designs and specifications must be submitted and approved, showing how the functional requirements of building regulations will be met. This new regime requires far more detail than the industry is used to in modern forms of contract, like design and build. There have been reports of the process taking many months and causing project delays. It also means that these detailed designs are locked into the final scheme. Design has to be complete prior to any construction. Any changes require permission from the regulator. Deviations in what is built or what materials are used can cause the project to stop until an agreed solution is permitted by the regulator.
All projects must maintain quality assurance records, commonly in a digital format, that prove we have met the functional requirements of building regulations during construction. To apply for a completion certificate, the client must submit information that they sign to say is compliant, with supporting signatures from the principal designer and the principal contractor. For work on an HRB, a digital record of the work done, including any quality assurance documents and true as-built drawings and documents, are submitted to the regulator. The regulator will review the information and complete site inspections. And when the building is assessed as compliant and safe for people to be in, it will be issued with a completion certificate to allow the principal accountable person to register the HRB and grant permission for occupation. This process is referred to as Gateway 3. We must stress here that it is critical that accurate documents are maintained throughout the construction of any building project, but this is especially the case for HRBs.
Finally, in relation to HRBs, each principal contractor must maintain a change control procedure, ensuring that major and recordable changes to design, products being used and methodologies being employed during the construction of an HRB are referred to a regulator as necessary. From your perspective, any alterations that are made must be discussed with the principal contractor so they can take the appropriate actions. But be aware, some changes can result in works having to stop for up to 6 weeks while the regulator considers them.
We are now asking you to do the following. 1. Take advice on the Building Safety Act if you have not already done so. 2. Answer the BSA questions on the Common Assessment Standard, or prepare for the main contractor a very good reason why you have chosen not to. 3. If you require further advice, please contact your main contractor or contact Construction Line using one of the methods shown on screen. That concludes this message, and thank you for your attention.